The world does not reward fairness. You can be honest and still get played. You can be talented and still get replaced by someone with half your skill and twice the connections. That is not pessimism, that is reality. The people who refuse to see this reality become easy targets. The people who accept it learn how to move through life without being crushed by it. And the ones who learn how to move, they do not just survive. They become the kind of person others instinctively respect, even when they cannot explain why. That is the power you cannot point at, but everyone can feel. This is what I call dark intelligence, the forging ground. Dark intelligence is forged in betrayal, in humiliation, in loss. Some people collapse when life hits them. Others absorb the impact and convert it into awareness. They listen more than they speak. They watch what others miss. They stay calm while everyone else spirals. They wait for timing, not permission. While others argue, you collect information. While they react, you calculate. While they get consumed by emotion, you build a plan that still works tomorrow. Most people are playing checkers. You are about to learn how to think in chess. But I need to say this clearly before we go any further. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. Use it to defend yourself, not to damage innocent people. The goal is not to become cruel. The goal is to become unplayable. Today you are going to learn 8 psychological traits that separate survivors from victims, leaders from followers, people who get used from people who cannot be used. Before we start, drop this in the comments as a commitment. I choose strategic intelligence over emotional reactivity. Now let us unlock what powerful people rarely explain out loud. 1. Calculated opacity. You do not broadcast your intentions. You do not hand people the full map of your mind. You reveal what is necessary and keep the rest private. Because when people only have part of the picture, they start guessing, and their guesses shape their behavior. That is influence. One of the oldest principles of power is this: most people judge by appearance. Very few see the truth underneath. Think about the most magnetic people you have met. They do not over-explain. They do not panic when questioned. They leave space in the story. They answer with calm. Sometimes they answer with a question. Sometimes they smile and move on. This is not lying. This is strategic disclosure. Most people feel pressured to prove themselves in conversation. They explain their motivations, their fears, their plans, their next moves. They think it builds trust, but it often just gives away leverage. Interest creates respect. Mystery creates attention. And respect creates influence. Example, someone asks what you are doing this weekend. Most people say, nothing, just relaxing, maybe a movie. That is honest, but it is forgettable. Instead, you say, I have something important to handle. Then you shift the topic. Now you are not predictable. Now your presence carries weight. Do not be secretive about everything. Be selective about what you share and when you share it. Your information is currency. Spend it carefully. Consider this deeper layer. Every piece of information you share creates a data point. 5 data points become a pattern. 10 patterns become predictability. Predictability becomes vulnerability. When people can predict you, they can position against you. When they can anticipate your reactions, they can manipulate them. When they know your priorities, they can exploit them. Calculated opacity disrupts this entire chain. It forces people to interact with you based on what you choose to reveal in the moment, not based on what they think they know about you. This also protects you from premature judgment. When you reveal plans too early, people form opinions before you have built momentum. They doubt, they question, they discourage, not always from malice, sometimes from their own limitations projected onto your ambitions. But when you move in silence and return with results, doubt becomes irrelevant. The work speaks. The outcome convinces. The proof eliminates debate. Calculated opacity also includes knowing when to increase transparency, because strategic disclosure is not permanent concealment, it is timed revelation. When you have established credibility, selective vulnerability becomes powerful. When you have demonstrated competence, sharing challenges humanizes without weakening. When you have secured your position, opening certain doors invites collaboration without inviting exploitation. The key is control. You decide what is shared. You decide when it is shared. You decide with whom it is shared. That control is the essence of calculated opacity. 2. Adaptive persona. You are not one fixed version of yourself. You adjust how you communicate based on who is in front of you. This is strategic emotional positioning. Consider how attachment distorts decision-making. Attached to an outcome, you become blind to better alternatives. Attached to a person, you miss signs of toxicity. Attached to an identity, you resist necessary evolution. Detachment creates space for superior judgment. You can evaluate situations objectively because you are not emotionally entangled in a predetermined result. You can recognize when to persist and when to pivot because your ego is not demanding vindication. You can walk away from what no longer serves you because your self-worth is not dependent on external validation. This also transforms how others perceive you. Desperate energy repels. It signals low value. It invites exploitation. Detached energy attracts. It signals abundance. It commands respect. When people sense you are not desperate for their approval, their investment, or their presence, something shifts. They begin to qualify themselves to you. They begin to compete for your attention. They begin to value access to you. Not because you demanded it, because you did not need it. This is the gravitational pull of detachment. Practice this in incremental steps. Start with small things you typically stress over. A delayed response, a changed plan, an unmet expectation. Notice your attachment, then consciously release it. Not by pretending you do not care, by genuinely accepting that you will be fine either way. Over time, this practice rewires your nervous system. You become someone who engages with life fully without being controlled by it. That is freedom. That is power. 4. Silent leverage. Most people think power is loud, demanding, threatening, posturing. That is beginner power. Real power changes the room without raising its voice. Silent leverage is influence without forcing it. It is positioning yourself so your presence shifts behavior. Instead of ordering people, you shape conditions. Instead of begging for respect, you become necessary. Instead of fighting for status, you make others offer it. Silence is a weapon most people cannot handle. In conversation, a pause makes your words heavier. Most people rush to fill silence, and they often reveal too much. Try this. When asked a difficult question, do not answer instantly. Pause. Look calm. Let the moment breathe. Then speak. Your words will land differently. In negotiation, silent leverage is having alternatives you do not brag about. You do not threaten. You simply are not trapped. In relationships, silent leverage is being valuable without chasing attention. People protect what improves their life. In professional settings, silent leverage is becoming the solver, not by announcing it, but by consistently delivering solutions. This requires patience. Silent leverage is long-term power, not quick wins. Ethical note: do not use this to trap people or harm them. Use it to create outcomes where everyone wins and nobody is exploited. Silent leverage is not passivity. It is controlled action without theatrics. Now let us explore the mechanics of silent leverage more deeply. Leverage is created through asymmetric value. When you possess something, others need more than you need what they possess. Leverage exists, but most people destroy their leverage by announcing it. They tell people how valuable they are. They explain why they should be needed. They argue for their importance. This is backwards. Value announced is value questioned. Value demonstrated is value accepted. Silent leverage operates through consistent, undeniable contribution. You become the person who solves problems others cannot solve. You become the connection that opens doors others cannot open. You become the stability that steadies situations others would destabilize. And you do this without fanfare, without self-promotion, without demanding recognition. The recognition comes anyway, because people notice competence, they notice reliability, they notice results, and they protect access to these things. This is how you become irreplaceable without threatening anyone. This is how you gain authority without demanding it. This is how you build influence that cannot be easily revoked. Consider also the leverage of absence. When you are always available, you have no leverage. When you are selectively available, your time gains value. When people must qualify for your attention becomes currency. This is not about playing games. This is about recognizing that scarcity creates value, and your time, energy, and attention are scarce resources. Treat them accordingly. Do not give them freely to everyone who asks. Do not make yourself endlessly accessible. Do not be the person who drops everything to accommodate everyone. Boundaries create respect. Selective availability creates demand. Strategic absence creates longing. These are uncomfortable truths, but they are truths nonetheless. People who master silent leverage understand that power is not taken, it is granted, and it is granted to those who demonstrate value without desperation. 5. Psychological echo. You become a mirror that reflects what people truly feel, even when they cannot say it clearly. They think you get them, because you do. This is not deception, this is deep listening. People are always communicating two things, what they say and what they mean. Most people listen to reply. You listen to understand. Here is a simple truth. Everyone carries needs and fears they rarely confess. And most people are silently asking 3 questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do I matter? When you answer those questions through your responses, you create trust fast. Example, someone says, I hate my job. Most people rush into advice. Find a new one. But beneath that statement might be, I feel trapped. I feel invisible. I feel underused. So you say, sounds like you are not being valued, and it is draining you. Now they feel understood. And once people feel understood, your influence grows. This also makes you persuasive in a clean, ethical way, because you learn what someone values and you communicate in a way they can receive. Security-focused people respond to stability. Recognition-focused people respond to achievement. Freedom-focused people respond to choice. You are not changing truth. You are translating truth. Use this to help, not to exploit. Echo to build connection, not control. Let us examine the deeper architecture of psychological echo. Most communication fails not because of what is said, but because of what is heard. People filter every message through their existing beliefs, fears, and desires. The same words mean different things to different people. Psychological echo bypasses this filter by speaking directly to the emotional reality beneath the surface conversation. This requires you to develop a specific skill, emotional pattern recognition. You learn to identify the emotional signature behind someone's words. Frustration masked as anger, fear masked as aggression, hurt masked as indifference, insecurity masked as arrogance. When you can identify the true emotion, you can respond to it directly. And when you respond to the real emotion, people feel profoundly seen. This is not manipulation. This is connection at a level most people never experience. Consider how rarely people feel truly heard. Most conversations are parallel monologues. Each person waits for their turn to speak while pretending to listen. The moment you genuinely listen with the intent to understand rather than respond, you stand out. You become memorable. You become trusted. You become influential. Because people gravitate toward those who make them feel understood. Psychological echo also requires you to suspend your own agenda temporarily. When you are listening to echo, You are not listening to insert your opinion. You are listening to understand their internal reality. This does not mean you lack opinions. It means you prioritize understanding before expressing them. Once you have echoed their reality back to them, they become receptive to your perspective, because you have demonstrated that you see them. And people listen to those who first listen to them. This is the reciprocity of attention. Also understand that psychological echo is not agreement. You can understand someone's perspective without endorsing it. You can validate someone's feelings without condoning their actions. The phrase, "I understand why you feel that way," does not mean, "I think you are right." It means, "I can see the logic from your vantage point." This distinction is critical. It allows you to build connection even across disagreement. It allows you to influence even when you cannot comply. It allows you to maintain relationships even when you must decline requests. Practice psychological echo by training yourself to identify, what is this person really saying beneath their words? What emotion is driving this statement? What need are they trying to meet? What fear are they trying to avoid? When you can answer these questions accurately, you can respond in ways that create connection rather than conflict. And connection is the foundation of all lasting influence. 6. Moral complexity. This is the one people get wrong. This does not mean do whatever you want. This does not mean be ruthless. It means you understand life is not always clean and simple. Sometimes being nice enables bad behavior. Sometimes avoiding conflict allows damage to continue. Sometimes protecting people requires decisions that do not look pretty. You stop judging actions only by how they appear. You judge by outcomes and responsibility. Example: a leader discovers someone is lying to clients. Being soft might feel kind, but it harms the team and the clients. So the ethical decision might be removal, not out of cruelty but out of protection. Moral complexity is pragmatic ethics. It is choosing the hard right over the easy, nice. But boundaries still matter. Set your non-negotiables. What lines will you never cross? What values are permanent? What harm will you never justify? Inside those boundaries, give yourself permission to be strategic in a complicated world. Your goal is not universal approval. Your goal is effective integrity. Let us explore why moral complexity is so difficult for most people. We are raised on binary morality, good versus evil, right versus wrong, hero versus villain. This framework works well for children's stories. It fails catastrophically in adult reality, because real ethical dilemmas rarely present as clear choices between good and evil. They present as choices between competing goods, between imperfect options, between short-term kindness and long-term benefit, between individual feelings and collective welfare. Moral complexity acknowledges this reality. It refuses the comfort of simplistic judgment. It accepts that ethical decision-making often requires trade-offs. Consider the leader who must fire someone. The easy, nice response is to delay, to give endless chances, to avoid the discomfort. But this often harms everyone involved. The underperforming person remains in a role where they cannot succeed. The team carries additional burden covering for them. The organization suffers decreased performance. The moral complexity view asks, what serves the greater good here? Sometimes the compassionate long-term decision looks harsh in the short term. This is not justification for cruelty. This is recognition that ethics must account for consequences, not just intentions. Moral complexity also means understanding that context matters. A behavior that is wrong in one context might be necessary in another. Absolute rules create absolute blindness to nuance. For example, honesty is generally virtuous, but honesty without tact can be cruelty. There are moments when complete transparency serves no one. When a dying person asks if they look well, brutal honesty is not virtue. It is unnecessary harm. Compassionate reassurance is the ethical choice. This does not make you a liar. It makes you someone who understands that ethics serves human flourishing, not abstract principles. Moral complexity requires you to develop your own ethical framework based on principles, not rules. Rules tell you what to do. Principles tell you how to think. Rules break down in novel situations. Principles adapt. Your principles might include: minimize harm where possible, maximize human flourishing, respect autonomy while protecting the vulnerable, choose truth when it serves, protect feelings when it does not harm. These principles allow you to navigate complexity without compromising integrity. They give you latitude to be strategic without being unethical. They allow you to be effective without being cruel. Also understand that moral complexity protects you from manipulation. People will attempt to weaponize your ethics against you. They will accuse you of being mean when you set boundaries. They will claim you are heartless when you make difficult decisions. They will use your desire to be good as leverage to extract compliance. Moral complexity gives you immunity to this manipulation, because you know that being good does not mean being convenient. That kindness does not mean absence of consequences. That integrity does not mean being controlled by others' emotions. You can hold your ethical line while refusing to be manipulated by simplistic moral framing. This is maturity. This is wisdom. This is power that serves rather than destroys. 7. Controlled exposure. In a world where people reveal everything online, the person who shares selectively becomes powerful. Controlled exposure means you do not give everyone full access to you. You share in layers as trust is earned. Because once information leaves you, you cannot take it back. Humans hate incomplete stories. When there is a gap, the mind tries to fill it. That curiosity keeps attention locked on you. Professionally, controlled exposure means you do not show every capability at once. You reveal strengths over time when they create the most value. Socially, it means you do not tell your full story to strangers. You build connection gradually. Strategically, it also means managing your online presence. Every post becomes a signal people interpret. The goal is not to be mysterious to look cool. The goal is to control your narrative. Share enough to be real. Not so much that you become readable and predictable. Controlled exposure is the discipline of strategic revelation. And in an age of compulsive oversharing, it becomes a source of significant power. Consider the psychology of revelation. When someone shares everything immediately, several things happen. The information loses value through abundance. The person loses mystique through complete exposure. The relationship loses progression because there are no discoveries left to make. Controlled exposure reverses all of this. By sharing gradually, each revelation carries weight. By maintaining some privacy, you retain intrigue. By creating layers of access, you give relationships room to deepen over time. This is not game playing. This is understanding that mystery is a legitimate component of attraction, respect, and influence. People value what they must work to understand. People protect access they fear losing. People invest in relationships that continue to reveal depth. When you give everything away immediately, you eliminate all three dynamics. Controlled exposure also protects you from premature judgment. Every person you meet is forming an assessment based on limited information. If you provide too much information too quickly, they will form conclusions before understanding context. Those conclusions become difficult to change. First impressions calcify. By controlling exposure, you guide the impression formation process. You allow people to see strengths before weaknesses, competence before vulnerability, value before cost. This is not deception. This is strategic sequencing of accurate information. Consider also the digital dimension. Your online presence is a permanent record that anyone can access, interpret, and use to form judgments about you. Every post contributes to a mosaic that people use to categorize you. Controlled exposure means being intentional about what you contribute to that mosaic. Ask before posting. Does this serve my goals? Does this reveal something I want known? Could this be used against me? Will this matter in 5 years? Most people fail this audit. They post for momentary validation without considering long-term implications. They share emotions that should remain private. They broadcast opinions that add nothing to their reputation. They create a digital record of impulsivity, inconsistency, and poor judgment. You will not make this mistake, because you understand that controlled exposure is controlled narrative, and controlled narrative is controlled perception, and controlled perception is influence. 8. Outcome obsession. This is the difference between talkers and finishers. You do not care about winning arguments. You care about winning results. Most people want to be right. They want to look smart. They want to feel productive. Outcome-focused people ask a different question. What result am I trying to create? That one question eliminates so much wasted energy. In disagreements, instead of proving a point, you decide the outcome. Do I want behavior to change? Do I want peace? Do I want information? Do I want a solution? Then you choose the method that produces the outcome. Sometimes being right ruins the mission. In work, outcome obsession means impact over appearance. In relationships, it means health over ego. In self-development, it means results over intentions. This creates something that looks like doing less, but it is actually precision. You focus on the few actions that move the needle, not the many actions that create the illusion of progress. Also, outcome obsession makes you adaptable. You do not fall in love with methods. You fall in love with results. If something does not work, you change approach. No pride, no attachment, no excuses. When you become known as someone who produces results, life brings you better opportunities. Not because you asked, because you are reliable. Let us examine why outcome obsession is so rare. Most people are addicted to process, not results. They confuse activity with achievement. They mistake motion for progress. They feel productive when they are simply busy. Outcome obsession destroys these illusions. It forces you to measure yourself by what you actually accomplish, not by how hard you tried. And most people cannot handle that level of accountability because it reveals uncomfortable truths. That effort without effectiveness is waste. That intentions without results are fantasy. That being busy is not the same as being productive. Outcome obsession also requires you to define success clearly. Most people operate with vague goals. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. I want to make a difference. These are not outcomes. These are feelings. Outcome obsession demands specificity. What does success look like measurably? What behaviors define happiness for me? What specific difference am I trying to create? With clear outcomes, you can design systems to achieve them. Without clear outcomes, you drift. Consider how outcome obsession transforms conflict. Most arguments are about being right. Outcome-focused thinking asks, what do I actually want from this situation? If you want behavior change, proving someone wrong rarely achieves it. In fact, it often entrenches their position. So you choose a different method. You ask questions that lead them to recognize the issue themselves. You provide information without attacking their identity. You create conditions where change becomes their idea. The outcome matters more than the credit. In professional contexts, outcome obsession means you stop caring about who gets acknowledged. You care about whether the project succeeds. This makes you a powerful collaborator because you are not competing for recognition. You are focused on collective achievement. People trust this energy. They know you will not sabotage the mission to protect your ego. They know you can be counted on to do what works, not what looks impressive. This trust becomes your greatest asset. Outcome obsession also eliminates victim mentality. When you are focused on results, you cannot afford to blame circumstances. You must focus on what you can control. You must identify the variables you can influence. You must take responsibility for creating the outcome regardless of conditions. This does not mean circumstances do not matter. It means you refuse to let circumstances become your excuse. You play the hand you are dealt with the goal of winning, not the goal of explaining why you lost. Finally, outcome obsession creates a feedback loop of competence. When you consistently produce results, you build evidence of your capability. This evidence becomes confidence. This confidence attracts opportunities. These opportunities create more results. The cycle compounds. Over time, you become someone people turn to when results matter. Not when talk matters, not when credentials matter, when actual outcomes matter. That is the ultimate form of professional respect, and it is earned through relentless focus on what actually works. The integration. Becoming unplayable. You know the 8 traits of dark intelligence. But knowledge without action is decoration. Pick one trait that hit you hardest. For the next 7 days, practice only that one. Watch how people respond when you show up with strategy instead of reactivity. Watch how you feel when you stop reacting and start directing. And remember what we said at the start. This power comes with responsibility. Use it to protect yourself, not to harm others. Use it to create better outcomes, not to create victims. The goal is not power over people. The goal is power over yourself and your circumstances. The most dangerous person is the one with nothing to lose. But the most valuable person is the one who understands human nature and uses that understanding to build, guide, and protect. So choose. Do you want to be the person who gets manipulated, or the person who cannot be manipulated? These 8 traits work together as a system. Calculated opacity protects your information. Adaptive persona allows you to connect across contexts. Detachment prevents emotional manipulation. Silent leverage builds influence without force. Psychological echo creates deep trust. Moral complexity navigates ethical nuance. Controlled exposure manages your narrative. Outcome obsession ensures you produce results. Together, they create something formidable, not a personality, an operating system. One that processes reality accurately, responds strategically, and produces consistently. One that cannot be easily read, predicted, or controlled. One that serves your goals without compromising your integrity. This is what it means to be unplayable, not isolated, not cruel, not manipulative. Simply immune to the games others play because you understand them so completely that they lose their power over you. You see the manipulation before it lands. You recognize the emotional hooks before they sink in. You identify the power plays before they unfold, and you respond not with reaction, but with strategy. This creates a kind of calm that unsettles people, because most people are accustomed to triggering reactions. When you do not react, they do not know how to proceed. Your stillness becomes your shield. Your silence becomes your statement. Your refusal to play becomes your victory. But understand this clearly. This power is not the destination. It is the foundation. Once you have secured yourself against external manipulation, the real work begins. The work of building something meaningful. The work of contributing something valuable. The work of becoming someone who does not just survive, but creates. Because power without purpose is hollow. Strategy without service is selfish. Intelligence without impact is wasted. Use these tools to build the life you want. Use them to protect the people you love. Use them to create the outcomes that matter. But never use them simply to dominate for domination's sake. That is not strength. That is insecurity dressed in strategy. True power serves something beyond itself. If this changed the way you see people and power, hit like. If you want more psychology, strategy, and human behavior, subscribe. And comment this. Which trait are you practicing first? Until next time, remember, intelligence is not just being sharp. It is being wise enough to use your mind for something bigger than ego. Stay strategic. Stay ethical. Stay powerful.